So you're literally at one of these tables, you're sitting...
Yeah, I mean, the stuff came over, whatever, at 10 or 11 at night, and it was such a mess. I mean,
Yeah.
the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And this was after a guy had, spent a couple of days on it, taking out the extraneous things. There were treatises on flying saucers they wrote about, and kangaroos. I don't know how they got in there. A lot about kangaroos. Some things that had nothing to do with it. It was already huge. Just the stuff in the Kentucky Derby. I think those extraneous parts have been lost to history. Nobody can ever remember where the hell they went.
So this is
anyway, he went through and separated all this stuff and tried to make some order. And then it comes over a slow-moving machine, the Mojo, at the office here. It took a while, an hour or so, for 30 or something pages to wind their way over. And I looked at it, and it was just a mess. It didn't make much sense at all, the article. So I said, oh, crap. I just kind of bundled it all up and took a walk up the street around the corner to the Tosca. And fortunately, it wasn't a crowded night. So I sat in one of these back red booths and spent a couple hours actually reading the thing and figuring the heads and the tails. And it was episodic, to say the least.
Yeah.
And kind of reassembled it somewhat. It was like, oh dear, it was sort of like trying to assemble a very big, complex crossword puzzle without having the picture on the box. Right?
Yeah, right.
You didn't have that to go by. So anyway, I did what I could. Finally came up with, it seemed like some order. And then I sat around over many of the Irish coffees, but they're not Irish coffees. They're called house cappuccinos here. Yeah, and
they have them lined up on
a mixture. Yeah, they pour a lot of this. That's a mixture of, I guess, cappuccinos and cappuccino stuff and milk and brandy. That's what's it. So I went through quite a few of those, of course, 2 or 3 hours. And finally, I stood around writing these little subheads for each section of paragraph. Then went back to it again. Finally, came down the street about 2:30 in the morning. They were kind enough to let me stay here. And this was also, of course, Hunter Thompson's hangout. When he was in San Francisco.
You have some wonderful stories.
Tosca was, he hung out and take Jeanette out driving.
Well, I wanted to ask you about Jeanette. Is she Jeanette Etheridge?
Yeah.
Is she a Elaine kind of figure? I mean, how do you talk about her as a San Francisco personality?
I don't think she'd appreciate the comparison. But yes, she is.
Why wouldn't she appreciate that?
Because hardly any saloon owner appreciates being compared to another. They think their places are individual in their own. And I think also there would be an element of characteristic female feelings about well-recorded and Chilean novels about, what do you mean, I'm like that woman or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't think but she was. Elaine's was the place where all the writers and literary types and some of the movie makers, but mostly it was writers and theater types and
you have some great
all the
stories
famous
about
people in there went to Elaine's from the early 60s on. And in fact, that's where I met Emile D'Antonio,
which we'll get
about
to
the other day. And this place was the early movie thing. Francis Coppola was a big buddy of hers. She used to help babysit for him, and she became a good friend of his wife. And the families got very close. And he hung around here and naturally drifted in the other movie makers in the 60s who were friends of Coppola's. So everybody from Lucas, I mean, you'd name all the movie guys, would hang around here when they were in town making a movie. They would all retreat here, and if they didn't, the directors that is, at least their staffs would, the sound guys, like all those people. Some of them got Academy Awards for the stuff they did. I mean, the award for sound in this movie goes to that stuff. So it was always full of movie people. So this was more based on the movie culture out here than it was in the literary culture in New York. But this was definitely a social setting. Everybody came here to hang out and hang around with the crowd that was here, as was true at Elaine's in New York. So the comparison is absolutely solid. Although I say,
I
I'm sure
understand
Jeanette wouldn't appreciate it. In fact, I'd like to hear what she says about it.